The fire incident that consumed about 20 rooms at the Bakassi Hostel in Yaba College of Technology makes the cut for the week, as quite a number of students are displaced and huge property loss recorded. Now, as the Harmattan season gradually sets in, there are lots of measures you must put in place in order to avoid fire accidents. The Lagos State Director, Fire Service, is providing us some of those tips. The state of Ibajo-Ada Road in Osun State leaves much to be desired, and residents are not finding this funny anymore. These and more on Eyewitness Report. I am Chris Elems. The fire incident of Wednesday, the 23rd of November at the Yaba College of Technology raises a lot of questions on safety of our school hostel and the preparedness of the school's authority to tackle such issues. While eyewitnesses say the incident is one that was bound to happen, the spokesperson for the school takes the blame to the doorsteps of the student. We also have a medical personnel talk to us on the effect of smoke inhalation and possible trauma the students may suffer. When female residents of Bakassi Hostel at the Yaba College of Technology went to bed on Tuesday night, little did they know what awaited them the next morning. They woke up to a raging fire which consumed everything on its path. The fire was said to have started at about 5 a.m., sending shivers down the spines of the students.
So when I heard fire, as in, it just woke us up and everybody were running outside naked. I even ran outside naked. I was not wearing anything. So it was only this trouser I was wearing. So this particular top I was even putting on, it was with my hand. I didn't even know that the thing was already attached to my body. So that was what I wore. When I came downstairs, when I wore it, even some people saw me. And most of the girls that were naked, it was some guys that were giving them clothes to wear, you know.
According to this eyewitness, it was an accident waiting to happen, as they have intermittently noticed some breaches in the electrification of the hostel.
It is not just happening. It has been happening since last year. To just come out as a little spark and we will put it off ourselves. And early this year, they told us they were going to renovate all the hostels for over 2 to 3 months. When we got to the hostel, they only painted the hostel. They did not renovate anything. They just fixed sockets.
According to some of the students, while the school fire team may have responded early, it took the support of firefighters from Unilag and other surrounding fire stations to put out the fire hours after it began, casting doubt on the school's preparedness to respond to emergencies such as this.
When they came on board, there was no water on board to really extinguish the fire. So not until external firefighter came from the Lagos State government and the other campuses around Unilag.
However, only 20 rooms were affected, and as at the time of our visit, some part of the building had been cordoned off, with students watching in total disbelief what has happened to their hostel. Thankfully, the casualty figure was low, and the Red Cross was on ground to help provide assistance.
What we just did literally as first aid members was to salvage the condition. We tried to take people that were panicking, we tried to reassure them, and those with cuts and wounds, we treated them, gave them first aid, and I think the situation was under control, health-wise.
While the issue that may have caused this incident remains unsolved, the spokesman of the school thinks the students are culpable.
They brought in so many things and all that. And it's the same people who had brought in all sorts of equipment that to make connections, use junction boxes here and there, even try to rewire their rooms, contrary to the injunctions of the institution. So all these things, they are not neither here nor there. How many of them were electrical engineers? How many of them are even engineering students to complain about how the wiring of a room should be? What do they know about it?
He also claims that contrary to speculations that there was no water when the fire truck arrived, that the school was well positioned to handle this.
When the firefighter vehicle got there, they noticed and let me just say that we've just acquired a new modern firefighting equipment. Is outside there. Now, they noticed that the fire started from the topmost floor. It could not be accessed. They tried to stretch their ladder because the vehicle is accompanied with ladders and all that, with long hoses and all that. But unfortunately, they could not gain access to the topmost floor, so they had to send for the excavator. So the period between bringing the excavator from where it is parked in the Works and Services Department, which is further from me than the fire vehicle. So with that period, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes of bringing the excavator was where the rumor over whether there was water or no water came about. Whereas there is a dedicated pump for the fire service in Yabatech, where no other person draws water except the fire service.
While an investigation panel had been set up to have a critical look at this incident, the students have been asked to stay off campus for a while.
In between, we are looking at the source of the fire. Committees are being set up to look at the cause of the fire, look at the way forward, go back to the drawing board and see how electrical things could be better managed in future. And as the rector has said, when she was going around the patients last night, yesterday evening, she said that this is another opportunity for Yabatech to rediscover itself and to chart the way forward for future engagement with students. And I think I agree with her on that, because now we know that students could bring in generating sets and all that. We know that all sorts of equipment could be found in hostels, and that all sorts of tamperings, could be done by students and all that. So it's an opportunity for us to go back to the drawing board. It's an opportunity to learn, because on a daily basis we learn from our achievements, from our problems, and from our challenges.
Fire incidents such as this may not be common in our hostels. This, however, should be an eye-opener to other schools to begin to put in place a proper emergency response unit that must be at alert every day and be ready to act when the need arises. The harmattan season is gradually accompanied by dryness, which in turn fuel fire outbreak. Now, in order to help us minimize those sad experiences, we'll bring you some tips from Lagos State #1 fireman. Causes of fire accidents are numerous, and the earlier we knew how to prevent these incidents, the better for us, especially now that the dry season sets in gradually. The Lagos State #1 fireman, Razak Fadigbe, takes us through some tips on preventing fire.
Now, any time that a fire is discovered, the first thing you must do is to make sure you get out of the house. And when you are getting out of the house, if it is possible for you to quickly lay your hand on your credentials, and that's why I've been telling people, make sure your credentials is in a place where it will be handy, where you can quickly pick it, because nobody, an armed robber will not come to your house and steal your credentials. He doesn't need it. So, and if you have credentials intact, you can still secure jobs anywhere. Now, if you go out of the building, don't ever make an attempt to go back once you are out of the building, unless you are advised by the professionals, by firefighters, to do so.
When an apartment is already engulfed, occupant must take precautionary measures to avoid complicating matters.
Everybody, the father, the mother, the children, must know how they lock the gate at night. I must know how it is open. Because nobody knows who will discover fire. The first person to discover fire in the middle or in the heart of the night. What do you talk about? Somebody who only on one socket. The AC may probably be connected there. The fan is connected there. The television is connected, and some other things. And before it rears its ugly head, it will have been warning you. Like the kind of candle that is produced nowadays, when you light it, you discover that it will bend on its own. So when it bends on its own, it is that part that contains naked light that will bend, and it will eventually later cause an abort. So don't ever go to bed, leave the candlestick on. It is good for you to make sure that you put it off before going to bed. Gas cylinder should not be kept in the kitchen. The problem we'll be having is that we tend to believe in security much more than safety. And we have forgotten that safety is encompassing. If you tell or ask some people, why did you keep your gas cylinder in the kitchen? They will tell you probably if they install it outside, it may result to being stolen away. So they are thinking about security. And you have forgotten that gaseous fire is a very difficult fire for firemen to fight. If there is a fire caused by gas, there is nothing you can do than just to make sure that you stop the fire. And how do you stop the fire? You go to where the gas cylinder is, lock up the valve. If you lock up the valve, it will stop the flow of the contents. And when that is stopped, then the fire will eventually goes out on its own. So let the gas cylinder be outside. So that if there is an outbreak of fire in the kitchen, you can quickly run outside and stab it and stop the fire from being fed from the gas cylinder. When you know that you have been able to run out of the building, quickly place a call to the fire service. We don't mind receiving 20 calls on only one emergency. That will tell us, and that will quickly tell us that our service is urgently needed. So when there's an emergency, quickly call the emergency toll-free line. Whether you have money on your phone, credit on your phone or not, the line works perfectly. 767 or 112, anytime there's an emergency.
Smoke inhalation poses another danger, which can lead to suffocation. Our medical personnel takes us through the dangers we often expose ourselves to whenever we mill around scenes of fire incidents.
When there is fire outbreak, generally the smoke contains some chemicals which actually injurious to the body. Now the constituent of the smoke varies, or depends on what is burning. All right, but generally there is the particular chemical we say called carbon monoxide, which is very injurious to the body. Usually is released. Then there are some particles like soot that comes from the smoke that that is being released. So these when somebody inhales them into the lungs, they can cause trouble, especially when the carbon monoxide is so much in the body. It can reduce the oxygen carrying capacity of the body, and of course every human being or every living thing needs oxygen to survive. So when the oxygen it's compromised or the amount is reduced in the body, of course eventually this can lead to death. All right, so of course the problems from inhalation of smoke ranges from just irritation, people have to cough, and some immediate illness, because sometimes it can affect the eyes, the nose. You have to start sneezing, having catarrh, then to the worst scenario whereby it can lead to death. They need to actually evacuate the scene as soon as possible. But because of their valuables, people are tempted to say, okay, let me take. Now, the degree of affectation actually depends on the person's health status. Those that are already a bit ill, those that have respiratory problems, they are more or mostly affected when such occurs. However, in all, people still need to avoid, because the thing is, you may not even know how healthy you are when it comes to that. So the truth is, when there's fire outbreak, except you are the one like the firefighters, or you have serious role to play in terms of quenching the fire or extinguishing it, you really need to evacuate the scene, leave the scene, because as you take in, a lot of things can happen in the body. There are some studies even right now being ongoing to see the relationship between smoke inhalation and some serious illness, malignancy, cancer, and all that in the future. But it's still under study. So in all, the best thing is when there's fire outbreak, especially when somebody has got nothing particular to do in that scene, person should actually leave the scene.
When fire accidents occur, lives are threatened and economic losses are barely quantifiable. Bearing this in mind, individuals, corporate and government organizations must work to prevent it this dry season. A little more attention, paid firefighting equipment, tips and precautionary measures may turn out very useful this time of the year.